for folks in the chat, if you are not presenting, please turn off your camera feed. That way we can have a more of a streamlined conversation. If everyone's on a camera, it may clog up the network for this application, if possible. Thanks for that, bro. Yep. All right, we're at 6. I'm a firm believer of giving folks a minute, one more minute to join. So we'll just give folks another minute, and then we can go ahead and get started. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So good afternoon. Just want to take maybe 30 seconds to make sure everyone can hear me. If folks can hear me, can you hit the raise hand button and the icon, the emoji up top, just to make sure that everyone can hear me well? Okay, good. I'm seeing a lot of hands go up. Great. So just a couple of housekeeping notes before we start. Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Samuel Dada. I'm an assistant to Sarah Walker and Brock Young at the San Francisco Federal Executive Board. This is our second job fair so far this year. We are planning to have several more job fair events throughout the calendar year. So please stay tuned for emails, check your emails. If you're not following us on Facebook or LinkedIn, please do so, because that's where a lot of our information is released. So before I turn it over to our talented interns, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Samuel Dada, and I've been working here on detail for about 6 months now, and this is a great opportunity for us to work with all of you and all the applicants. One thing that we've been telling our applicants is that this job fair is really more information based. We will send out a copy of everything that's been discussed afterwards. We're also video taping this session. So if there's a speaker, a specific speaker that you want to hear their message again later this evening or later the week, we will send out a copy link to all of you so you can watch the video again. So with that said, let me turn it over to our interns, and they're going to walk you to today's agenda and go ahead and get started. So Howard and Wilson, do you want to go ahead and take over?
Yeah, definitely. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're so glad you're joining us today. My name is Howard Mai, and with me is Wilson and Sarah Popkins. We're student interns at the San Francisco Federal Executive Board, and we're all excited that so many of you have joined us today. We're really excited because us and our mentors have been trying to put together this job fair for the past few weeks, and we really hope all of you can take something of value from this experience. And our goal at the SFFEB is to help you all better navigate the federal hiring process. Just a quick few reminders before we introduce our presenters. If you haven't already, be sure to mute yourself and turn off your cameras. This will definitely help with interruptions and help conserve bandwidth and improve video quality. Please save all questions for the end of the presentation or when the speaker allots time for questions. Alternatively, you may put your questions in the chat box, and an SFFEB representative will do their best to bring the question to the presenter or try to answer it to the best of our own ability. We also have an agenda that was sent out with the meeting's URL. It has the schedule for today's presenters, a brief bio for everyone presenting today, the human resource emails, which you can reach out towards, and the URL for this meeting should you ever be disconnected, and further resources to help you out with applying towards USA jobs. Without further ado, let's introduce our lovely presenters today. First up, we have Klaus Plack. Klaus Plack is the Regional Director for the Department of Labor. He specifically works at the Employees Benefits and Security Administration. He has worked with the federal government for the past 25 years in various management investigative capacities. He is looking for some outstanding individuals to join his team today.
All right. Thanks, Howard. Thanks for that introduction, and thanks for describing me as lovely. I've never been described like that, but that's great. All right. So thanks everybody for joining us this afternoon. My name again is Klaus Placky, and I'm the regional director for the U.S. Department of Labor Employee Benefits Security Administration. So Department of Labor, just to let you know, has a lot of agencies under its umbrella, like Mine and Safety Administration and OSHA and Wage and Hour Administration. So we're Employee Benefit Security Administration. And I work in the San Francisco regional office. So Employee Benefit Security Administration, also known as EBSA, is a regulatory and law enforcement agency, and we have 10 regional offices. So my region covers Northern California, Utah, and Nevada. And then I have a district office in Seattle that covers the northwestern states. And by the way, I'm recruiting positions for both of those offices. EBSA enforces a law known as ERISA, which stands for the Employee Retirement Income Security Act. ERISA was enacted to protect workers' rights to employer-sponsored retirement and health benefits in the private sector. So we don't deal with, government-sponsored plan or church-sponsored plans. These are private sectors, private sector employee benefit plans. Our primary mission is to enforce ERISA by conducting civil and criminal investigations. We also provide informal dispute resolution services, and we educate the public on their benefit rights, and we do that primarily through our outreach events. We're a fairly small agency. I have a staff of 43 in my San Francisco office, and I have 23 people up in Seattle. I am recruiting for 2 different positions this time around, and the first one that I'll describe is the employee benefits investigator. It's an 1801 series investigator, so it's not like the gun carrying commissioned law enforcement officer that can arrest people. These are more or less financial fraud investigators. However, we do conduct both civil and criminal violations, and our subjects are typically fiduciaries. Fiduciaries are people that have a duty of loyalty to the retirement plans and health plans that they sponsor, and they actually are the ones that administer these programs. We also investigate any entities providing services to those plans. So we conduct interview. So what do we do? So we conduct interviews of subjects and witnesses. We review a whole lot of financial records and plan documents. Plan documents are the ones that kind of set out the rules for the employee benefits. And ultimately, we want to make a determination whether violations exist, right? So civil investigations typically culminate in a findings letter where we'll cite the violations, and then we ask the fiduciaries to restore losses. If they are unwilling or unable to take corrective action, we can then file a lawsuit against them by referring the matter to our regional solicitor's office. And I'll just give you some examples of some civil cases we have, just to give you really a clear idea of how we protect the public. So we may investigate an employer, and we find out they took a prohibited loan from a company-sponsored profit-sharing plan. this may not be obvious to you, but if you're an employer that sponsors, a pension plan, those pension plan monies are sacred. They're not allowed to, steal money, obviously, or borrow it in the form of a loan. Those are called prohibited transactions. So we run into that a lot. Sometimes we investigate investment advisors, and sometimes they steer their retirement plan clients into, for example, purchasing shares of stocks in company in which the advisor has an ownership interest. So that's the type of case we would investigate, that we would call like a conflict of interest type case. Another very common one is the situation where I think everybody knows what a 401k plan is, right? So the scenario would be where an employer deducts 401k contributions from an employee's wages, but then fails to deposit the money into the plan's retirement account. So the retirement account would be, at a place like Fidelity or whoever the custodian is at that time. Another one would be where an investment management firm charges retirement plans for excessive fees and hidden compensation. And a lot of times we have abandoned retirement plans, which is where a company essentially goes out of business, and then the trustee of the company-sponsored pension plan basically abandons his responsibility to administer the plan, and he or she fails to authorize distributions to plan participants. So we would have to intervene in those types of situations. Another one is where an insurance company violates the Mental Health Parity Act by imposing higher cost sharing or pre-authorization requirements to mental health benefits, but doesn't impose those same hurdles for medical surgical benefits. Another one would be where an employer stops paying health insurance premiums for its employees, but then omits informing the employees that their coverage ended, which ultimately results in employees being on the hook for a whole lot of unpaid claims. And like I said, we investigate criminal cases too. So what kind of criminal cases? It'd be fraud, embezzlement, false statements, or any type of white collar crime where employee benefit plan participants are the victims. So these types of cases typically involve unraveling some complex financial transactions and then tracing the money to see who enriched themselves from the scheme. And then we would work with federal and state prosecutors to achieve indictments and convictions where appropriate. So the second position I'm recruiting for is the benefits advisor position. And the catch with this one is that right now I'm filling only bilingual speakers for benefit advisors. So when I talk about the investigators, we're recruiting for English only or bilingual Spanish and English. But for benefit advisors, I'm really limited at this time to recruiting for folks that speak Asian languages. So you have to speak, in addition to speaking English, you have to be fluent in one of these languages: Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, or Tagalog. Somebody put a comment in, asked a question: Are those positions remote? The answer is no. The definition of remote is basically somebody that teleworks 100%, but this position does require not only a lot of field work where you have to report on site to like an employer's place of business or to the prosecutor's office, but it requires you also to show up in the office as well. We do have a lot of expanded telework, such that after you have a lot of experience under your belt, maybe you only have to come into the office once a week, but it is a requirement. And this is the type of job that does require a lot of collaboration with other people. So you're going to want to get to know your coworkers. You're not going to be isolated behind a computer screen. Okay. Okay, cool. Are those positions in California is another question that popped up. So yeah, so the positions are in San Francisco, California. It's in the San Francisco Federal Building on so it's 7th and Mission. And then it's in the up in Seattle. There are positions open up there at the 5th and Yesler in downtown Seattle. All right, so I'll move on with talking about what benefit advisors do. So this position educates and assists plan participants. So they take phone calls from plan participants, and then we advise them as to their rights under the law. If benefits are unlawfully denied, the benefit advisors then step in. They intervene. They'll call the employer in an effort to resolve the matter. It's what we call informal dispute resolution. If the employer doesn't fix the issue, the benefit advisor will refer to the matter over to the enforcement, what I was just talking about conducting formal investigations. The benefit advisors, in addition to kind of conducting these preliminary investigations, will also conduct outreach to industry groups and underrepresented communities to educate them as to the requirements for ERISA. All right, so I'll get to these chats and questions in a minute. So whether you want to be a benefit advisor or an investigator, I think the work we do here is really impactful and meaningful. We help consumers navigate a very complex system of health and retirement benefits. I like the fact that we wear the white hats. You know, we see that justice is done. It really bothers me when people get away with committing serious crimes, and I feel like I have a role in doing something about that. We also strive to be a model employer, and we try to maintain a workplace environment that embraces diversity, that provides top-notch training, and lots of collaboration and opportunities for upward mobility. So, so at this point, let me see. Let me just adjust here. So we have job openings right now posted on USA Jobs at the GS9 and GS11 level, and you might qualify for either or both, depending on your level of education and experience. And so, if you're not familiar with federal GS pay scales, I do want to go over this very briefly, but it's pretty important. So if you don't mind, what I'm going to do is share my screen. And by the way, if I start getting close to my time, somebody take a hook and just tell me. Let me bring this up. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
We've got
somebody
you there,
just. Okay, great.
Yes.
All right. So this is the pay scale for as of 2023 for San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose. Seattle has a different pay scale. It's probably about 4% less, something like that. But if you're coming into an entry level position with the federal government, typically you would come in at a GS, a grade 7 or a grade 9. But in this case, I'm recruiting for a GS9. I will be recruiting for a GS7, which has less qualification requirements. But right now, what's open is a GS9. So if you were to start at a GS9, you can see the salary for step 1 would be $70,674. So that's the minimum starting salary. And some of you might think, well, that's not that great, especially for for the Bay Area. Okay, I get that. A lot of times people do complain that federal government starting salaries are not always on par with the private sector. I get that, but you have to look at a little bit more than that, right? You have to look down the road. So the federal government has something called career ladder promotions. So in the positions that I was talking about, after 1 year of fully successful performance, you go from a GS9, you get bumped up to a GS11, which is a little over 85,000. And then a year after that, you go to the journeyman level, which is considered the GS12 level at 102,489. So now you're making decent money, right? Just after 2 years. Beyond GS12 are 13s and 14s. GS13s are competitive promotions for senior investigators, and GS14s are typically supervisory and management type positions. Okay, so like I said, there is there's a lot of upward mobility involved here. And another thing is, you probably know that the federal government has great salary and benefits. And one of the big things, I mean, I happen to be in the employee benefits industry, so I know a little bit about this, but the federal pension that's given to federal employees under the FERS system, it's a federal employees retirement system, is worth a lot, especially if you stay with the federal government, make it your career, for, I don't know, 25, 30 years. So that you stick around that long and you and you retire, we're talking about monthly payouts for essentially for the rest of your life. And so that kind of annuity can be worth, $1 million or more, depending, of course, how long you live, right? So this is a pretty big benefit, in addition to having the thrift savings plan, which is separate from the defined benefit plan. Thrift savings plan operates essentially just like a private 401k plan, where there's, the federal government does matching contributions. Okay. And I want to, lastly, I want to just go, just a word about applying for the job, for either the benefit advisor or the investigator. So to be minimally qualified for the position, you have to have one of the following, and you need to read these job announcements very, very closely. Okay, so one way is to have, if you have 2 years of graduate education under your belt, you're already minimally qualified. You can apply for this. Okay. Another way is to have the specialized experience. So for example, for the investigator, specialized experience is experience that provided knowledge of laws, policies, regulations, experience participating in investigative projects and audits, knowledge of investigative and auditing principles and techniques, experience in researching and reviewing reports, discovery documents, and other case filings, and experience in identifying, analyzing, and solving problems, determining accuracy and relevancy of information, and generate alternatives. That is the exact wording that's in the job announcement. So, so the lesson here is that if you're interested in applying, you have to thoroughly read the announcement and make sure you meet the basic qualifications. And when you go to attach your federal resume, it's not like a typical federal resume, or I'm sorry, it's not like a typical private sector resume that's like one page. It gives a lot of brief descriptions of what your duties and responsibilities were. That's not what a federal job resume is. The resume that you attach to your federal application has to, importantly, support your answers to each and every vacancy question. So it's a requirement that you fill out it's like a multiple choice form where you have to fill out all these questions indicating whether you have experience doing certain things. And if you say, if the question is, have you conducted interviews? And if you say yes, you fill it out on that form, you make the multiple choice selection, but then your resume is going to have to support that. And so your resume is going to really need to describe the purpose of those interviews and how you use the information that you gathered. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? Okay, so so with that, I'm going to say best of luck to you all, and I'm going to open it up to questions at this time. And also, if you have questions later, you can message me at the email address that was provided. All right. Do I have questions?
Or anyone with a question, go ahead and raise your hand, and then when we call on you, you will be able to come off with any questions. We've got one from Jamaica. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. What are the job title announcements for your position? Thank you. And I will add to that, Klaus, do you have, by chance, USA Jobs links that we could share with folks if you do have open announcements on USA Jobs?
Yeah, I did provide those to you, and I thought those were shared out to the group, but anyway, so let's worry about that in a bit. But the job, and it's easy. If you go on the USA Jobs, just go right into the search bar, which is right up top, and just put in employee benefits investigator. And then you'll see a whole bunch of them pop up from around the country. There's one called multiple locations. Click on that because it'll show San Francisco and Seattle. If you see San Francisco and Seattle, then you know you got the right one. But please understand that there's several of these that are going to be posted. So some of them are going to be open to what's called recent graduates under the Pathways program. There's one that's going to be open to the public, and then there's going to be one for current federal employees under, it's called like the merit staffing program. So make sure you're applying to the one that applies to you, which is probably going to be either open to the public, or if you're a recent graduate, apply to that one. The second job title is called Benefits Advisor. So you just type that in and up will pop all of these opportunities. So that's really all you need to do. Another one is, do you offer any paid internship, or what is your advice to gain some of those skills? So the short answer is yes, we do offer paid internships. We also post those opportunities on USA Jobs. And for those, you would probably want to put in, something like student intern as the search term. You can kind of narrow it down to to Department of Labor as the agency, and then put in student interns, and then a whole bunch of them will pop up. Another person says, is it okay to message and ask about mock interviews or informational interviews? You can email me to ask about an informational interview, but I'm not going to do a mock interview with you. I mean, I can tell you basically, I'm the one who comes up with the question, so I can tell you briefly how to prepare for an interview, but I would probably want to provide that. I can provide that guidance to you at some point, but I do want to make sure you're interested in the position, go through the application process, and you need to make what's called the certificate of eligible. So if you score at least 90 or above on the vacancy questions, and those are all supportable, you'll get into what's called the category A candidates, and those are referred to me for consideration. All right. Any other questions? Okay, somebody just emailed one of the announcements.
Sarah put one of the announcements in the chat there, if possible.
Okay. And that's it for my. I think I finished up less than a half hour, so that's good. I will turn it over then to the next speaker. Thanks so much.
Hello, my name is Wilson, and I'll be introducing Maria Chavez. She is a human resources manager at the Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Prisons. Maria has worked in human resources within the Federal Bureau of Prisons for over 23 years and has helped many people find work within her bureau. Maria now works as a human resource manager, helping to connect potential employees with job opportunities within the Federal Bureau of Prisons.
Thank you for that introduction. I'm sorry, my phone is ringing. Give me a second. There you go. Thank you for having me today. Like Wilson said, I've been with the Bureau of Prisons for approximately 23 years, all federal service. I did start at an entry-level position. I started with the Bureau of Prisons in 1999 as an information receptionist, entry level again. The Bureau of Prisons falls under Department of Justice, similar to Mr. Plackey. We fall under, he's DOL, we fall under Department of Justice. Bureau of Prisons is comprised of many institutions nationwide. We do have locations throughout the nation, 122 to be specific, 6 regional offices, a headquarters office, 2 staff training centers, and 22 residential reentry management offices. Our goal with the Bureau of Prisons is to protect the public safety by ensuring that federal offenders serve their sentences of imprisonment in facilities that are safe, humane, cost-efficient, and appropriately secure, and provide reentry programming to ensure their successful return to the community. We're responsible for approximately, for housing, or for the custody and care of approximately 158,000 inmates nationwide, federal inmates. And we employ approximately 34,000 staff. That's a little bit about our agency. Lompoc, whom I'm actually specifically recruiting for, is located in the Central Coast. Specifically, the USP was coined the New Rock after the closure of USP Alcatraz, making it the first United States penitentiary on the West Coast. The complex houses approximately 2,800 inmates, male inmates, and consists of a medium security institution, a low security institution, and 2 minimum security satellite camps and a farm. Lompoc is known, it's a small town, it's known as the City of Flowers, and we're situated approximately 100 miles north of Los Angeles and 53 miles north of Santa Barbara, just to give you an idea as to where it's located. I'm sorry, I don't know if that was me. The surrounding area of Lompoc and Central Coast offers great views, great dining. Vandenberg Space Force Base sits right next to our complex. So it entitles, we both entirely share a strong relationship with each other and the local community. That's a little bit about Lompoc. Now, as far as my bureau career, like I said, I started as an information receptionist, entry-level position back in '99. I then advanced into a position with training with the training department in 2004 as an employee development specialist. I then moved to our headquarters office as a human resource specialist in Central Office, Washington, D.C. And I was there probably approximately 3 years, from 2008 to 2011. In 2011, I made a move out to the West Coast again, which is this region. I was a human resource specialist at one of our regional offices. And in 2014, I came back out to one of the institutions, to the field, as a human resource manager in Terminal Island. I was there for approximately a year and a half, and then moved out to Arizona, to FCC Tucson as an assistant HRM there. Came back out west, or came back to California to one of our female institutions in 2018 as the human resource manager there. And finally, in 2020, I assumed my position as a human resource manager at FCC Lompoc. So one of the positions, or the position, primarily the position I am recruiting for, is the correctional officer position. We have several vacancies for correctional officer positions, and I'm just going to give some major duties and responsibilities for that position. Essentially, correctional officers provide supervision, care, and correctional treatment of inmates and guidance to lower graded correctional officers. They are concerned with maintenance and institution security, contributing to the health and welfare of the inmates and the promotion of good public relations. As an employee in the federal correctional facility, the incumbent is the subject to arduous, adverse, and stressful working conditions and environments. The incumbent is also required to conduct searches of inmates, as well as inmate work and living areas for contraband. The incumbent is responsible for immediately responding to institution emergencies as well. Correctional officers enforce rules and regulations governing facility security, inmate accountability, and inmate conduct to ensure judicial sanctions are carried out and inmates remain in custody. Correctional officers must be prepared and trained to use physical control in situations where necessary, such as inmate fights, assaults on staff, or major disturbances or escape attempts. From time to time, the incumbent may be required to carry a firearm, maintain control of inmates, and use force to include possibly deadly weapons. Being in such a hostile or life-threatening situations and as major disturbances, assaults, and escape attempts, you have to exercise sound judgment and making instantaneous decisions affecting life, well-being, civil liberties, and property, which cannot be reviewed prior to implementation and which may be subject to decision makers. So those are just a couple of the responsibilities for some of the correctional officer or for the correctional officer positions. Like I said, we do have various positions. It is one of our easiest way into the federal sector to get your foot in the door into the federal system. This is probably one of the easiest, as most of our higher positions of responsibility are generally advertised via merit promotion, meaning internal, through the internal merit promotion system. This is always open to the public. As stated, not only Lompoc, but there are several institutions throughout the Western Regional Office that are actively hiring for correctional officer positions, to include up in the northern area, all along the coast. So it's not just Lompoc recruiting for these positions. Some of the qualifications for the position would entail a successful completion of a full 4-year course of study in the field, leading to a bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university. And that would be entry level at the GS5. Like Placky said, we are as well are on a GS scale. However, ours is determined by location. There is a rest of the US location salary table. Ours, depending on the locations, there are localities attached to those salary tables. For example, mine is Los Angeles salary table. Starting salary for a correctional officer would be $53,835. Highest, which if the individual qualified at the 8 level, starting salary would be $63,869, and could potentially cap out at $81,836, and that would be solely for the correctional officer position. Once in the system, though, like I said, this is an entry level into the system. Once in the system, you can get up to the GS15 level, which that would be a warden in our institutions. Starting salary for that position would be $158,520, and will cap out at $183,500. So the opportunity is there, especially if you're mobile, such as myself. I did move quite a bit. I'm currently at GS13. I started as GS5. So if there is mobility, there is potential. If you're mobile, there is potential as far as advancement within the Bureau of Prisons. The other option as well, once you're in the Bureau of Prisons, you could potentially explore other government agencies after you complete your 20 years of federal service. Maybe you're not ready to retire, and you might be seeking still to continue your federal career. You could move on or transfer to another government agency. In addition to the correctional officer position, FCC Lompoc is also offering a 10% recruitment incentive to those eligible candidates. So that would be 10% of the base salary. So if somebody qualified just solely on education, the starting salary, like I said, was $53,835. 10% of that would be $5,383, and that would be a lump sum amount that would be paid once onboarded and if the eligibility requirement was met. As you advance, similar to Mr. Klaus, we do have a career ladder promotion system as well. So after, if hypothetically speaking, you started as a 5 entry level, a year after that, you would attain your GS6 grade level. A year after that, you would get your 7. And then a year after that, you would get your 8. So annually, there would be a career ladder promotion. Once you reach your 8 level, you would then need to compete for a position if you would like to advance to a higher graded position, meaning a lieutenant correctional officer or a lieutenant position, which would be a 9. Then you'd have to compete again. The correctional officer position is not, once you compete, once you apply, you're promoting, your career ladder promotion is non-competitive to the 8. If for whatever reason the education requirement is not there, then the correctional officer, in order to qualify for the correctional officer, you would need at least 3 years of full-time general experience, 1 year of which was equivalent to the GL4 grade level, or 1 year of specialized experience. In accordance with 5 USC 3307, a maximum entry age of 36 has been established for an initial appointment to a position in the Bureau of Prisons, though. And that is because we have law enforcement retirement. So some of those benefits along with that law enforcement retirement, some of those benefits are that law enforcement retirement means that with 20 years of service, you'd be eligible to retire at age 50. With 25 years of service, eligibility to retire at any age under the FIRST system, which we also are under FIRST. Another benefit would be competitive federal government salary, including fair compensation for working evenings, Sunday, and overtime. We have a comprehensive health insurance and benefit system similar to DOL. We also are under FIRST. We do have the TSP matching contributions as well. So those are a couple benefits that are available as far as incentives go. That more or less summarizes qualifications for the position. Our current vacancies are posted on USA Jobs as well. We do have several vacancies that are open continuous. However, the correctional officer position, I have the vacancy announcement number. The announcement number would be BOP-N-2023-0012 if interested. I have a question. Do you have to be a U.S. citizen to be correctional officer, or can you have a permanent resident card? Actually, one of the requirements is a U.S. residency. So yes, you would be required. Somebody mentioned as well selective service requirement. You would also have to had to have applied or submitted in for selective service, filled out your selective service requirement. I'm sorry, I'm trying to read some of the chat. We will include all links and info on the following email. I'm trying to see if there's additional questions on here.
No, right now, Maria, no, that's it. Just thank you for answering from that one individual.
Okay, no problem. Aside of that, I think I took less time than Mr. Plackey because he covered some of the similar information. Like I said, when it comes to benefits, retirement, similar system, it's FERS. Max entry age is before the age of 37. So you cannot have reached 37 years of age.
Right. Are there any more questions for Maria? What if you retired from the military?
Great question. So actually, when it comes to vets, we can request an age waiver for veterans. So yes, there is no minimum requirement for vets. We are definitely open to submitting a request for age waiver requirement. So it waives the age requirement, yes. Also, if you apply through USA Jobs, it will ask you that information. You would upload your military or your DD-214 relevant information. However, if you would like information, you could always send me an email directly. If you're in the military, you can actually submit your DD-214 and resume directly to the institution for consideration. And we will look at it at that time to see if you meet eligibility under our special hiring authority, such as VRA.
Awesome. And Klaus just posted another employee benefits investigator to the chat. If there's nothing else for Maria, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next introducer, Howard, you're back up.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Maria. Our final presenter for today is David Porter. David Porter has been working for the Federal Bureau of Prisons for 13 years. Of those 13 total years, David has spent 8 of those working as a field training officer for new hires, with the remainder of the other 5 years spent working for the safety department. David now works as a safety administrator for the FCI Herlong and has been a recruiter for over 10 years. David is very eager to help new staff work through the hiring process, and he'll be presenting next.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dave Porter. I work at FCI Herlong. We are located at right near Lake Tahoe, about an hour north of Reno, Nevada, but actually in the state of California. The other surrounding state we have near us is Susanville, which is about 40 miles away. If you're into the more of the country setting, the hunting and fishing, that's where most of our staff populate to that area. If you're into the city life and all that, the stuff comes to the city in Lake Tahoe, most of the other staff live in Reno. So we're also part of the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Thank you, Maria, for your extensive knowledge in that. And if you don't mind staying on to answer some of these questions if they pop up, since you're the HR manager, probably know a little more than I do. We're currently looking for 3 positions. We have nurses listed nationwide. We're looking for 2 actually there. Obviously, the criteria to be a nurse is you're going to school and get your license. Once you've got that license, you meet our criteria. Mid-level practitioner, we have that one. Obviously, that one's once you graduate from your school, you can apply. And our correction officer, same as Maria is doing. Our correction officers do the same inmate settings, the same criteria. When you go on USA Jobs, you'll see the job duties that are involved with that. Our biggest pitch out of all this is our correction officers are meant to make our inmates better. Our inmates are going to release from the federal prison, and it takes staff to help them with their decision making and their judgment skills. We also push heavily on programming here at FCI Herlong and with every other prison available to make the inmate the best they possibly can. An inmate, all the inmates are going to get out, and they're going to be your neighbor one day, not. So our pitch is to make them the best they can, educate them, train them, rehabilitate them, so that when they get out, they don't come back into the system. So you'll see the correction officer, the only difference we have, like Lompoc, we have called a 25% retention after the 90 days, which you get on board, you're eligible for 25% of your base salary. So that adds quite a bit more into the ability of making more money with the Federal Bureau of Prisons. Correction officer is the entry level in. Majority of, probably 90% of all of our staff come in that way, and then we branch off through what job we choose to have later down in life. So I started out as a correction officer as a GS5, entry level, no retentions or nothing. I worked up to the field training officer to try to teach all the new hires. Because when new people come into the Bureau of Prisons, you don't really know what you're getting into. So we have training officers in place to walk you through, shadow you, teach you how to deal with the inmate populations and the diversity that comes with it, and also teach you the benefits packages and the retirement package, and insurance and everything related to. So we do a lot of one-on-one, hand-in-hand thing to teach you how you're going to come up the system. After I did my correctional officer time, about 8 years, then I became involved with the safety for occupational health and safety. Now I'm currently the manager here at Herlong, and it's a great opportunity. If any of you guys looking to get into our world specifically, the doors are wide open. You can learn so much. There's so many jobs inside of prison, and getting your foot in the door as a correctional officer opens up all the other departments that you may want later. But getting your foot in the door, because the federal government pretty much hires within for a lot of spots. And we do do the training. We have that to get in. The minimum criteria to get into the correctional officer, basically, if you don't have a degree, it's pretty much 3 years. If you have 3 years of management in fast food, anything related to that, if you didn't go to college, this is still your avenue to get in. We will teach you. We also send you to an academy in Georgia. So you got about 3 weeks, and that's to teach you the basics, entry level, how to be a correctional officer, and the policies coming behind it. So it'll give you a lot of information. Prior to you go to the academy, you'll get some on-the-job training first. 3, 4, 5 months, you'll be inside being shadowed and taught how to do it. Then we sent you to learn the rules and regulations of being inside the federal entity of the prison here. So there's many openings. I mean, there's 22 different departments just at my prison itself. So like you get your foot in the door, you can move around. You got your degree and come in as a correction officer and then move as quick as you can once you get in, and then move to the department you want. There's not that often you get teacher spots pop up. They do, but there's not that often they come up, or HR spots or specialists, but we train throughout to move you to that level. We have a mentoring program that you can sign up when you're in, and then the managers will mentor you in that ability to learn that job and teach you what schools you need to take on the outside in order to make you a better candidate coming in. So if you're in USA Jobs, our zip code is 96113. That's specific to our prison out here in FCI Hurlong. And you'll see our announcements. Like I said, the correctional officer one, the nurse one, and mid-level practitioner are the ones we currently have open right now to the door. But so once you're in, you'll see the rest of them. But also a little touch on the law enforcement retirement. And Maria did a great job explaining it. It's 20 years and you can be done depending on the age you start. And then you can move on. You can do 20 years with us. The difference of a law enforcement retirement is we get 1.78% per year worked. So when you bring it up to 20, if you do easy math and call it about 2%, you get 40% of your base just for 20 years. That's the equivalent to the teachers out in town. So, but that 20 years, once you lock it in, you can leave our agency because you have the 20 years locked in and go somewhere else. When you go into other agencies, they offer 1% per year work. So we double it. So we double the amount that for your retirement, and you get to do 20 years and you're out. We have our age cap, starting at 36, being hired on before 37, because we're mandatory out the door at 57. It doesn't mean you can be done working. You can go to another agency and continue on your retirement if you choose to. So that's a little highlight on that one. Our retention, like I said, is 25%. This is the full same civil service job. It's full benefits, medical, dental. We also work on the 3-tier program, which is meaning you get your TSP out of thing. We also get your pension, and your 3rd tier is when Social Security kicks in. So we also have a supplement that when you retire at 57, the Bureau of Prisons pays a supplement until you get to the age of 62 when you're eligible to apply for Social Security. So your checks keep coming if you choose to stop working after 57. And that's huge compared to the private sector. Just that ability to maximize your retirement and make the most you can out of your time. And then if you, like I said, if you finish your 20, move on. Go to the VA, go to the DOL, go to any other civil agency and continue your retirement. And you start banking your TSP also more. So your retirement becomes even better. Our USA Jobs a little bit as they've been doing the resume writing. The biggest thing to get yourself through when you do that is there's things called KSAs, which is knowledge, skills, and abilities questions. Those questions are asking how you're experiencing life, how you answer them, what you did in your life to experience it. You need to put those experiences, whatever you answer on that KSA questions, almost verbatim into your resume somewhere so we can prove your eligibility that you did your job. You're showing your past history and how you qualified for our jobs, but you have to do examples. You have to put it in. Basically, so the other thing is, like, when you're making your resume on USA Jobs, please don't upload it. Build it in USA Jobs itself. You can go a lot more in depth. You can get a lot more involved in your resume to make it so you can be a better qualified candidate, so you can get to the face-to-face of the hiring process. Once you put your information in USA Jobs, it sits there and the computer's got to see it and read it. So in order to, and they're going to evaluate, did your experience actually match to your resume? And then it'll get you at that point of actually seeing face-to-face and get actually get an interview. So we also offer out here in FCI Hurlong commuter vans, so you're not driving at all. So that gives the ability, it's like, we know it's about a 40-minute drive. We have a program set up where there's commuter vans, so you don't even drive to work. So it saves you your gas and your time. You're going to get a commuter van, and you're just going to, somebody else in that van is going to drive you to work and drive you home at the end of the day. So that's pretty much what we got out of FCI Herlong. I know this is short and sweet, but Maria did a great evaluation and explanation of what the Bureau of Prison has to offer and how broad the spectrum is. So if you have, I'll go into answer any questions if you have.
David, this is Brock, you have one in the chat. Could you please repeat the zip code?
Our zip code out here is 96113. So in the top hand, right hand corner in USA Jobs, instead of putting the name in for anything or the job you want to look for, if you just put our zip code in, it populates our now local announcements here at FCI Herlong. How do you prepare for TSA exams?
I'll handle that. I'll answer that one after. From Will, are there any openings with the Bureau of Prisons for people with a degree in healthcare administration?
Currently at our place, yes, we do. We have a health services administrator and health services trainee positions here. We have our health service administrator currently open, but it's in-house. You got to get your foot in the door first in order to apply for that one. But we do have the administrator on that. Usually the administrator, you don't have to have a license to practice. You're taking care of the entire department. You're not actually treating for the medical portion of the inmate portion of part of it. You're the management of the entire department. So yes, we do have healthcare administration spots here. And we have a trainee spot coming up, but at most you got to come into, you got to get your foot in the door as a, somehow usually as a correction officer to get in there, or an RN, the nurse, or a mid-level practitioner, and you can move up in that world to be the manager of the department.
Awesome. Maria, you had your hand up. Did you want to add something?
No, I was just gonna echo what he was saying. So yeah, if you come in through the easiest avenue into the Bureau of Prisons are the entry-level positions. However, within the medical field, you've got nurses, as he indicated, you have nurse positions, nurse practitioners, that paramedics that may just come straight from the street. They don't start off as correctional officers, and that's one avenue of obtaining one of those administrative positions, if that is one of the directions that Willie is trying to go.
Awesome. Thank you, Maria. David, back to you.
If we don't have any more questions, I'd just be happy to get anybody on board with us. We have about 40, 45 positions open for correction officer right now. So send your resume. If you're a vet, send your resume to the recruiter link to her recruiter, and we'll pass it on to our HR, and then they'll adjudicate you and make some phone calls just to make sure you meet the minimum criteria of it. And remember, it's your member 4 copy of your DD-214. So it shows all your time.
Awesome. I don't see any more questions, David. Thank you very much. Sam, back to you. He may have had to cut out. Hello, my name is Brock Young. I'm the Deputy Director of the San Francisco Federal Executive Board. I want to thank all of you, all of our presenters. If everybody could give a big virtual round of applause for everybody that presented today, I would greatly appreciate it. You know, go with your little reaction emoji thing and do a little clap, clap, clap. So very, very awesome. There you go. Thank you, Howard. Are there any more questions? So back to question of how do you prepare to TSA? Do you have exam questions? Anna, I'm guessing, I'm trying to translate what you said there. I've got 3 kids, so I'm good at translating. How do you prepare your resume for the exam questions? What you can do, most announcements will have a portion somewhere down in the how you will be evaluated section, those kinds of things, for you to be able to preview the supplemental questionnaire questions. You don't have to apply the CVs. So with that, I want to share this. So for those of you on the call who are interested in learning more about federal resume writing process, we will be hosting or co-hosting, excuse me, a federal resume development webinar on March 9th at 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific. This flyer will be sent out to you as an after action, as the after event email. However, if you wanted to take a quick shot of the scan, you need to register, you can go ahead and register now. And we will be going over everything that we discussed all the questions that you have regarding the federal email, or excuse me, the federal resume, the points that Maria were bringing up about having to include examples within your federal resume, how to speak eloquently and match your resume with the announcement. There are a lot of myths we will dispel, for instance, the cutting and pasting of things and stuff like that. We will go very in depth into how to qualify yourself and quantify what you've done, and making sure there's metrics, making sure your experiences have context, making sure there's the appropriate amount of detail in order to show those HR professionals who will be reviewing your resume that you are in fact qualified. The upfront, this webinar is being co-hosted by the California National Guard as well as the Nevada National Guard's Work for Warriors program. So it will be more veteran/military, active duty / spouse centric regarding translating skills and translating experiences into, as a vet, what we call civilian terms. However, it is a very good class. It is the base class that I give to all personnel, and it would be a very, very helpful if you do have questions. Yes. So Jonathan, yes, there's a lag. I don't think attendees had an opportunity to take a picture. So I will go back to sharing that. Thank you, Jonathan. So yeah, go ahead and take a picture, and then this will be included on in our after event email. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us here at the San Francisco Federal Executive Board if you have any questions. We are in a position to also help with and complimentary resume reviews. We won't write your resume for you, but I can give it a look, see, and give you some positive and solid feedback. Maybe that you've never, upfront, if you've never had someone with knowledge of a federal resume look at your federal resume, do so, whether that's me or not. Yes, you can. I will put my email address into the chat box, so please feel free to add it there. With that, would any of our presenters have anything else to say? Or Sarah, would you like to come off mute and say anything to the attendees? Guys ever had a presenter for MSC? What is MSC? I'm looking for my thing here. There it is. Oh, there you go, Military SEAL Command. We will find out. I've been talking to both the Coast Guard as well as Naval Reserves and the Military SEAL Command. We have not gotten any papers yet. However, if we do, we will make sure to include that. For those of you that are on LinkedIn, please make sure to follow the San Francisco Federal Executive Board page. We will host, we are very good at hosting positions, openings, tips, tricks, and other relevant information for federal job seekers. This is my contact information is now in the chat. Wow, that formatted crazy. So if there is nothing else, Sarah, Maria, David, Klaus, everybody, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you coming on. Please feel free to join us again, March 9th at 3 p.m. Pacific for our next federal resume development webinar, where we will make sure that your resume is solid and ready to be applying to Maria and David and Klaus's positions. So everybody, thank you very much. And I will remain on the call if anybody has any applicable questions, resume questions, veteran specific federal employment questions, things like that. So thank you very much all. Looks like we gave you an hour back of your day. So thank you very much.
Hey, Brock, thank you for putting this on and getting everybody together and making this happen. Thank you guys, all the team, for making this thing happen. So we appreciate it.
Anytime. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, of course, I had a last minute IT snafu. I'm now working off of my phone that's sitting in a window because my internet went down. Gotta love Xfinity. All right, well, seeing there are no questions, let's see, got a couple more. Thank you very much. John, all right, thank you. Sam, I don't know if you're still on. Sorry, I took over. I thought you figured you had to bounce, so I just kind of jumped on. Sarah, you got anything else? If not, I'll cancel this out. We're going to close this out.
I'm good, and we'll close the room. Thank you.
All right, everybody, have a wonderful evening and hope to see you someday as a federal employee. Take care.